For generations, proving the origin of an idea was straightforward. If you quoted a passage, you pointed the reader to a specific book, journal, or webpage. That source sat on a shelf for a server, static and waiting for anyone to pull it down and check your work. Generative AI breaks that system. When you ask a chatbot a question, it doesn't retrieve a pre-written document. It generates a custom response on the spot. It's an ephemeral interaction, seen only by you, and almost never repeated exactly the same way twice. If you take that generated output and paste it directly into your own document without a word of attribution, you create a hidden machine ghostwriter. The reader naturally assumes the wording, the analysis, and the creative labor are entirely yours. You might think the fix is to simply list the AI software as a co-author, but authorship is a legal and ethical concept. It requires the capacity to take responsibility for mistakes, plagiarism, and factual errors. A large language model cannot answer for its output. Since a generated response cannot be pulled off a shelf for verification, the concept of citation shifts toward documenting the specific interaction between the human and the software. To document that interaction, we first have to determine how the AI was used. The highest level of scrutiny applies to the product category. This is when the exact AI-generated text, snippet of code, or image is placed directly into your final draft. This diagram organizes the citation grocery list. When using an AI product, these 6 forensic data points allow a reader to reconstruct the context of the generation. The first half of this list defines your inputs. You need to name the specific tool, record the exact model or version number you used, and provide the precise text of the prompt you typed in. The second half tracks the results. You record the date the output was generated, classify the exact type of output, and finally, provide a strict accounting of how you edited, condensed, or altered that result afterward. Major academic style guides like APA, MLA, and Chicago all require these same elements. They simply ask you to arrange these 6 forensic data points into different standardized orders, depending on their specific formatting rules. Of all these elements, the prompt text receives the most scrutiny. A vague prompt produces a very different result than a highly detailed, constrained set of instructions. The prompt is the only evidence that proves your actual intent. The ultimate goal is to provide enough clear, forensic evidence so that whoever reads your work can evaluate your methods and trust the origin of the text. But what if you never copy a single AI-generated word? That brings us to the process category. This covers using AI to brainstorm section zittings, organize raw notes, or clarify dense concepts. This visual contrasts a formal citation on the left with a disclosure statement on the right. For process-level help, you don't need a rigid citation format. Instead, you write a candid, plain-language paragraph explaining exactly how the tool shaped your workflow. Consider a psychology student tasked with a massive research paper. They feed their raw lecture notes into a chatbot to generate a structural outline, saving hours of planning time. Then, they sit down and write the entire essay themselves. The AI provided structural guidance, so a brief disclosure statement is all that is required. When using AI for research, accuracy remains a human burden. Generative tools frequently invent studies or summarize existing reports with errors, acting as a trailhead rather than a destination. If a chatbot tells you a 2018 report found a 40% drop in test scores, you must track down the original 2018 report, verify the numbers with your own eyes, and cite that primary document instead of the AI. Accurately disclosing your AI assistance validates the integrity of how you worked. Manually tracking down and verifying the external sources protects the objective truth of what you actually produced. Standard citation or disclosure statements do not validate the accuracy of the underlying output. A perfectly formatted citation records the moment of generation without providing protection from liability. If your university, publisher, or employer has a strict ban on generative tools, the citation serves as a record of the violation. This diagram illustrates the accountability hierarchy. The machine sits at the very bottom. It is merely software executing a probabilistic task. The human user sits at the apex, absorbing the total liability for the final output. This means your immediate responsibility is to collect the receipts, save your exact prompts before closing the chat window, record the tool versions, and independently verify every single factual claim. If the software were to disappear completely, the entire weight of the work still rests on you. While machines can output infinite reams of data, authorship resides in the human willingness to stand behind the work and answer for its consequences.